36 movies that were ridiculously banned around the world. The history of film is littered with movies that were banned for explicit scenes of excessive violence or gratuitous sex. But sometimes films are banned for the most arbitrary of reasons. It can be because of whatever is trending that month, BDSM, horrifying anthropomorphic turtles that are also ninjas. Or it can be that the government of certain countries are terrified of time travel. These banned movies were kept from audiences for some seriously ridiculous reason. And most of the time, it was because whoever was in control of the censorship board was just a total square. Speaking of squares, rumor has it that in 1918 all comedies were banned in Manitoba because it was believed they would make the populace too frivolous. In hindsight, the notion of a film making the citizens of a providence run wild with frivolity seems naive, especially after viewing some of the films on this list of movies that were banned even for ridiculous reasons. Across the globe, films from The Interview to The Wild One, starring Marlon Brando, and even E.T. have been censored for everything from an intent to incite anarchy to the possibility of a film having a negative impact on the film industry of another country. When it comes to movies, Schindler's List banned for being too sympathetic to Jews. The 1994 Steven Spielberg tour de force about Oskar Schindler, the German Nazi Party member who risked his life to save 200 people, was quite rightly considered a high point in Spielberg's filmmaking career, second only to his appearance in Austin Powers, Goldmember probably. But it caused an uproar in some Muslim countries for being too sympathetic to the Jewish cause. Quote, when asked to re-edit the film to suit the Middle Eastern countries, Spielberg said, "No way, Jose," and took a nap on his pile of money. Back to the Future banned because time travel is dangerous. If you grew up in the 80s, you probably spent summer afternoons pretending travel through time in a bitchin' DeLorean with a sidekick that was 40 years older than you. Just us. Back to the Future is a touchstone of cinema history, but it was too much for the Chinese government. Upon its release, they banned the film, saying it was the government's belief that time travel is a dangerous element in fiction and that the actions of Marty McFly are highly inappropriate. Quote, The Simpsons movie banned because they're yellow. Think long and think hard about why The Simpsons movie was banned in Burma. Was it the cursing? Maybe, but no. Was it Bart's nude scene? You're close. As luck would have it, the colors yellow and red are banned in Burma, and since Bart mostly wears a red shirt, even if he had been clothed the entire time, it wouldn't have mattered. To think that the citizens of Myanmar have yet to lay eyes on Spider-Pig is a shame. The Extraterrestrial banned for showing adults as the enemy. If you were a child of the 80s, The Extraterrestrial made huge impact on your life. Whether you were touched by the heartwarming story of a boy and his alien, or you were creeped out by the scary raisin monster, the film still has a special place in your heart. Unless you grew up in Finland, Norway, or Sweden, where children under the age of 12 were banned from seeing the movie when it was released because it portrayed adults as the enemy of children. Quote, The original King Kong banned for having a giant gorilla in it. The original King Kong film, released in 1933, when people thought that moving pictures were magic and that maybe there was a giant gorilla right there in the theater that was going to eat everyone. Finland banned the movie outright upon its release because they felt that the effects was too lifelike. If you say so, Finland. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom banned for Monkey Brains. The second and darkest installment of the Indiana Jones franchise saw the adventurers stumble upon an ancient cult in India. Save for a couple of scenes of hearts being ripped from human bodies and a feast of monkey brains, it was a pretty fun family movie. Speaking of monkey brains, the Indian government felt that the film was racist and offensive to their culture, so they banned it for a brief period of time. The interview makes North Korea really super mad. Why is the banning this romantic comedy about two hapless dopes that try to kill the leader of North Korea so ridiculous? Because it's absurdly hilarious that a film made by the brains behind Pineapple Express could endanger world peace. The country's UN ambassador called the film an act of war, and affected Sony's original release plans for the film. Avatar banned in China due to worries it would promote civil unrest. The 2D version of James Cameron's biggest movie ever was banned in China after the government worried that the success of the film would affect their own film industry. Censors were also concerned that the film would promote civil unrest. Despite the Chinese government's efforts, the film made a record $2.7 billion worldwide. Zoolander banned by Iran for depicting homosexuals. We know what you're thinking. The movie about a secret plot to kill the Prime Minister of Malaysia for enacting child labor laws was banned in Malaysia. Right, well, aren't you just Mr. Smarty Pants? Zoolander, the goofy film about male models, was banned in Iran for depicting homosexuals. That's it. They didn't want to show the film because there might have been some gays in it. Iran, you need to stop resting on ugly and sashay away. Goldfinger banned because Gert Frobe was a Nazi. Upon Goldfinger's release in 1964, it was banned in Israel. Once the Israeli government discovered that Gert Frobe, who is amazing as Goldfinger, was a member of the Nazi party, they banned the film. But once they did a little more digging, they discovered that Frobe used his membership in the Nazi party to save Jews from the Gestapo. They overturned their ruling. Monty Python's Life of Brian is blasphemy. According to the UK, the Monty Python comedy rode a dangerous line by telling the story of Brian, a child born in a stable near Jesus, who gets mistaken as the Messiah. Upon release, the film was considered blasphemous and banned by several UK councils, some of which have only recently lifted the ban. Lighten up fellas, it's only a movie. Video courtesy of Cinema International Corporation, UK, Orion Pictures, Warner Brothers. 2012 banned for contradicting North Korea's own 2012 prophecies. By now we're all aware that North Korea is king crazy, and that they've banned their fair share of movies. So when you hear that they banned the film 2012, you'd be wise to think that Roland Emmerich blew up a statue of Kim Jong-il or something. But you'd be wrong. 2012 was banned by North Korea for running counter to their own 2012 prophecies. You see, to North Korea, 2012 was the 100-year anniversary of their founder Kim Il-sung, which for them was a great time of celebration. So not only was the film banned, but heavy fines, and let's be real, probably imprisonment, were levied against anyone caught bootlegging the film. The Evil Dead makes the UK's Video Nasty List one of the greatest horror films of all time. It is often copied but never duplicated. The film was banned in the UK for the violent tree molestation. And even after the producers re-edited the film for distribution, it was still heavily censored in the UK, making it one of the films on England's Video Nasty list. Zack and Miri make a porno banned in Utah. The Kevin Smith-helmed romantic comedy revolves around two friends who are flat broke. To make some extra money, they decide to make a porno, and fall in love. The film was outlawed in Trinidad and Tobago, Malaysia, and Thailand because censors felt the teens would try to make their own porn films. The film was also banned in Utah. The same weekend, Saw V was released with no issues. Deadpool banned in China due to violence. Despite high levels of anticipation for Marvel's latest anti-superhero movie, China has decided to ban Deadpool for graphic violence, nudity, and bad language. The Chinese government is known for working with Hollywood to clean up some of the movies that don't pass their censorship guidelines. But in Deadpool's case, Any edits would cause serious plot problems for the film. Marvel is going to take a hard hit for this one, because their movies normally do extremely well in China. The Da Vinci Code banned for undermining Christianity. Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare stated that the film undermines the very roots of Christianity on the Solomon Islands, prompting a giant "no-doi" from the rest of the world. Monkey business banned in Ireland for too many hijinks that might incite anarchy. This 1931 Marx Brothers classic involved the trio stowing away on a ship and getting caught up in some classic hijinks with a bunch of gangsters. It was very groundbreaking stuff for 1931. So groundbreaking that Ireland banned the film out of fear that it would incite anarchy. Oh Ireland, you're the worst. The Bohemian Girl banned during the Third Reich. The Bohemian Girl is a fairly sweet film starring Laurel and Hardy as a couple of gypsies who end up taking care of a kidnapped baby. The Nazis were not happy about this. Not the kidnapped baby thing, but the fact that Laurel and Hardy portrayed gypsies in a favorable light. The film was banned from Germany during the Third Reich. District 9 banned for being racist. Neil Blomkamp's District 9 was a scathing piece of social commentary barely disguised as science fiction. The only way it could have been more on the nose was if it had been titled Apartheid, the musical. So it's surprising that the film was banned in Nigeria for being too racist. That's because the movie casts Nigerians as violent, ruthless criminals taking equal advantage of the aliens as a predominantly white paramilitary group. After a toothless apology from Sony, Nigeria relented and lifted the ban. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre banned in 4 different counties. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was Tobe Hooper's magnum opus that inspired millions of imitators. Unfortunately, upon re-release in 1999, it was banned for violent and sadistic content in Brazil, Sweden, Singapore, and France, where Jerry Lewis is still enjoying a blossoming career.